Project 944 Part 5. In this video I'm going to do a review of the Lindsey Racing short throw shifter. As you can see, I've got a aftermarket shift knob and a new boot on my shifter. I don't have a before and after photo. The old one was pretty torn up and I had already thrown that one away when I started making videos. Anyone who has a 944 already or has seen them, they have the old style, definitely looks like it's out of the 80s shift boot. Even one in good condition looks like it's old, and almost any sport car I've ever had, I've always switched out the shifter, made it a short throw shifter, and I've switched these shift knobs on occasion as well. I've actually had this knob on a different car, an R32. And I've seen this shift knob on a Porsche 930 Turbo and also on a Lamborghini Countach. So it is a very nice shift knob in my opinion. And one of the benefits of switching out the shifter is that you can add a different shift knob to it. This is the OE shifter, and as you see, it's kind of square, and you can't add just any aftermarket shifter to it. And you can really just replace what you already had. So anyway, let me pull this apart. Let me show you how this goes together. So my old boot, this is actually a replacement boot of the original. I got the boot from only944.com, and then on the style of the boot, it wraps around your regular shift knob, and then you put it down into place. Well, I did at the skinny part in the neck, I cut it off and then wrapped it around the shifter and used a very high-tech zip tie to just basically connect it upside down on the inside, and then you just flip it over. Now this inner boot is also from only 944. This inner boot, this is a leather boot, and the original one is rubber. And mine definitely was torn and had holes in it, so I replaced that as well. A 944, only 944 has a nice upgraded one, and this thing sits down over the metal base on this thing. It secures very nicely with the drawstring. So I'm not going to take it completely apart. But as, like most modern shifters, it's got some the shifter screws on top. And as you see, the biggest difference between this shifter and the original is that it connects on both sides. This one, the torque tube, which is right here, slides onto the pin, and then you set a cotter pin in there and it presses it on from one side, and you can put a couple washers and spacers on there, and then the ball obviously goes down into the cup below the down in there. You remove those I believe 13mm bolts. Almost every bolt on this car is 13mm or a 10 or a 17, it seems like, so it actually makes it very easy to work on. So as you can see, this has a little lock washer on the side and another one on the other side. Now I really like the shifter, and it's not a true review of just the Lindsey Racing shifter, because I also have the shift linkage on the transmission from only 944. Now that is an upgraded, stiffer, new, modern linkage that is not only new, but is also shorter as well. Now the one downside of this kit, which I don't like, is that the torque tube, with the rod that runs through it, it rattles. There's some play in there, and I called Lindsey Racing and they said it shouldn't have that, but there's really not enough space in there. As you can see, it's just shifting back and forth. There's really not enough space to get a washer in there, because I tried. I even filed one down to see how well I could get it in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to put the camera down so you can see. I'm going to try a very sophisticated, high-tech solution to this. Let's see if we get the light to stay. I have a very fancy and large zip tie. I'm going to try to pull this to one side and see if I can get it so it's tight without jamming it up. Now, it's not rattling. The question is, will it move? Now, let's take some pliers and snip that off. And that may have actually done the trick. So if you've never modified cars before, one of the things you'll learn is a lot of these parts don't always work the way they're supposed to work, and there's not always a solution from the company that sells them. You can call them and complain and maybe get your money back or a discount, but that doesn't necessarily fix the problem. So sometimes you have to come up with creative solutions and fix your own problems yourself. So let me see if that works. You put the shift boot back down. Now I do really like this shifter. I saw a lot of discussion online about these 944s having a lot of play in the shifter and a lot of people replace the bushings in here, which stiffens it up a little bit. I like just to upgrade the entire thing. And then, so this is a short throw shifter, and then the linkage on the transmission also shortens the shifting. So together, it did quite a bit in my opinion. I didn't drive the car before I actually switched these. That was one of the first things I did on this was switch this out. But I did play with the shifter in here before taking it out. It's definitely shorter and stiffer. It's a more mechanical shifting, which is much more fun. So basically this inner boot is going to keep some, when it's leather, so it's fireproof. You don't want anything coming up through from down below the car, any fumes or whatnot. Now, there's just a plastic cover that pops down in here, and I haven't actually secured the cover to it. I just kind of shoved it down in there, and it was kind of a temporary fix, but then it was mostly working, so I just left it. Let's see if I can get it back in there without it taking an hour. Alright, I think I got it back in there. The back is a little sticking out. That's not bad. And as you can see, if you have one of these cars, this is very short and mechanical now. So it's very stiff, and I think it's pretty short, especially compared to where it was. And you get the nice option of aftermarket shift knobs. Like I said, I just zip tie that down in there, and you get the kind of the little bit of old school look with the rod coming up on there. Now on the inside, there are some set screws for this thing, and make sure you Loctite those. I did not on my first attempt, and they fell out and jammed up the shifter a little bit, and I couldn't get it in reverse. It took me a minute to figure that one out. So anyway, if you're thinking about getting a short shifter kit, I do recommend it, and can't wait to get this out for a drive. It is not rattling anymore, so hopefully that stays put and that solves the problem. If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe. My next video, I'll be doing a review on putting your I'll be doing a video on your window switches on a late model car. This is an 86. There's one out there on an early model car, and I'm going to show you how to take them apart and put them back together correctly.